Shabbat Shalom. As Jews, we recognize the difficulty of saying goodbye. A Jewish goodbye is what we call the long, drawn-out process of Jewish friends and family trying to leave one another. We even have a midrash that the entire reason behind the holiday of Shmini Atzeret was to give God and Israel a little more time to say goodbye to each other after the high holidays. As if 3 weeks together were not enough, we need a whole extra day just to say goodbye. It might be why the word shalom in Hebrew means not only goodbye, but hello. It's a kind of denial of the fact that indeed the time to leave has arrived. After 3 wonderful years, I've decided to try my hand at congregational work at my own synagogue in the South in Chattanooga, Tennessee. And I begin the process of moving there this coming week. In reflecting on what to talk about, I would like to highlight one important aspect of Parshat Korach. Korach complained a lot. It was never enough for him to just be Korach and accept the bounty of his own life. Not once did Korach express gratitude for his special position as a Levite. Despite having the honor of getting to carry the most holy objects of the tabernacle, he's greedy and envious of the position of others. He wants to be a Levite, and he wants the priesthood that he so covets in his cousin Aaron. Korach could not see the blessings of his own position. I share this because I need a segue, a good segue, to share with you what I really want to talk about, which is why I am forever grateful to have been a rabbi here at Sinai Temple. Whereas Korach could not see the value of his position, I am overwhelmed with the blessings from having served this extraordinary community. In the Talmud, Rabbi Hanina reflects on how much he's learned with the following statement: I've learned much from my teachers, more from my colleagues, but from my students I have learned the most. I've been blessed at Sinai to have many students. Our hundreds of religious school students who I have a special place for in my heart, our hundreds of day school students, our teen leaders, the dozens of adult B'nai Mitzvah students, all the teaching from Hasidut on Saturday nights, to Torah at the table, to the liturgy classes that we would have in Cone Chapel before COVID. I could not share the vast amount of knowledge of Torah and of myself that I've gained having the immense responsibility and blessing to teach as much as I did. I have, however, had 3 rabbinic colleagues from whom I have learned from during these past 3 years. And with your permission, I would like to share 3 memories that I will always carry with me. 3 blessings I've received from my colleagues during these years serving here at Sinai Temple. I remember the first time I stood on this bima, and my very first Shabbat. I got here early so I could prepare for the service and take in the beauty of the space. I remember feeling a sense of awe as I called my first page from the same pulpit that Rabbi Wople speaks from. I remember also feeling a sense of awe as Rabbi Wople stood up to come to speak to me. I had shown up early. I was wearing my best suit. I had nailed every page number. I was smiling. I knew I was doing a great job. I was excited to hear the words of encouragement from this new mentor of mine. He drew close and he shared with me words I will never forget. Sam, he started, you need to call pages louder. At a meeting later that week, I reviewed this piece of advice with Rabbi Wople, and I asked about page numbers, calling them and whatnot. Is there a kind of art to it? Was I thinking too deeply about the subject? To this, he replied that calling page numbers was much more than basic announcing. My mistake, he explained, was that I was saying the page numbers, but not speaking. I never considered that there was a difference between talking and speaking. And it was from Rabbi Wople that I learned what it means to really say something. And page numbers were apparently better spoken than merely said. He shared, too, that it went beyond page numbers, that a traditional Jewish service, he explained, can be overwhelming for a layperson, and that the only thing anchoring a person who's not familiar with these texts is the rabbi. Our job was to help people find a home in these words, or at least make sure they did not feel lost. I've learned more than I could share at this moment from Rabbi Wople, but I will never forget this first piece of advice and all it stood for. There's a time for talking, there's a time to speak. And our job is to use our words to help guide the way through the maze of Jewish tradition. The second memory I would like to share is from a conversation I had with Rabbi Guzik. When I first arrived at Sinai, I was tasked with leading the musical direction of Torah in the Round for the High Holiday service. I needed to work with the band, to practice with Cantor Sugarman, and prepare the musical side of the service. At first, it was quite hard for me. I'm a musician, it's true. But I saw myself. I had been to rabbinical school for 5 years. I had seen myself, first and foremost, as a rabbi. I didn't want to practice piano. I wanted to preach. I wanted to call pages. I shared this in a meeting with Rabbi Guzik, and I shared that I saw my musical ability as a constant hindrance to my rabbinate, being boxed in as the musical rabbi, and never just rabbi. To this, Rabbi Guzik shared words I will never forget. I had it all wrong, she explained. I should never look down on that part of myself because music was a door into people's hearts. See, I had forgotten that as a rabbi, it's our job to open people's hearts to Torah, to goodness, to truth, to each other, to love, to justice, to community, and to do this in any way possible. Music was another door, one that I held a set of keys to, even though I didn't realize it. Since that conversation, I've never felt like music hindered my being a rabbi, and I understood for the first time that it was another key I had on my chain, one that I could use whenever necessary to do that work of opening people's hearts. I learned from Rabbi Guzik that to be a rabbi means to be in part a cardiologist. We're heart doctors here. Though instead of a scalpel, the tools we use are more ethereal. From Rabbi Sherman, I learned that to be a great rabbi means to follow your passions. Sports, of course, is one of the core passions of my colleague, and I was constantly amazed by the breadth of programs he came up with simply by doing what he loved. His video series interviewing Jewish sports figures, our annual basketball camp, our school's basketball league, partnering with Keen so students with special needs and students in our religious school could have a chance to play basketball together. The list goes on. Each one of these programs were a means of strengthening our community, building bonds within and without of our community. And they did the work of Tikkun Olam. These programs helped to grow Sinai Temple, not only in membership numbers, but spiritually, through the act of strengthening community, building camaraderie, and pursuing community service and equality. From Rabbi Sherman, I learned that to be a great rabbi means to take our passions and turn them into blessings. From Rabbi Sherman, I learned that a good rabbi does not leave part of them on the sidelines when serving a community. No, a great rabbi takes what they love and draws out from it countless blessings to help his or her community grow. I would like to share one more memory I have from my years here at Sinai. the epitome of the Jewish goodbye. It was at the first upshirin I officiated at. As soon as I entered the house, the host graciously invited me in and showed me around, gave me food and drinks, and more food and more drinks, and also a balloon animal for my kids from the balloon station. And by the way, Abraham, from whom we learn Hachnasat Orchim, the mitzvah of welcoming in guests, even he did not give his guests balloon animals. This was another level. The upshirin was beautiful, and I went to the host when it was over to say thank you and farewell. Don't leave, he said. Don't leave, but if you do, come back with your family. We have plenty of food, the kids will love it. Bring your family over. So I decided I would try it. I left, I picked up my wife and kids and went back to their house. And they were ecstatic to see us. They welcomed us in with open arms, dessert, balloon animals, and all. I'll always remember those words and the shock at hearing them from the host. Don't leave. But if you do, come back. This is how I feel now. It's hard to go, but I leave saying shalom, goodbye and hello, because I know this is not the end. Lehitraot, I'll see you soon. I hope to come back someday, not only with my family, but with stories about how Sinai Temple helped me to become the rabbi that's soon to arrive in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Most of all, I would like to say the words that Korach was too stubborn to say. Thank you for allowing me to serve this wonderful community. Thank you for choosing me to be one of your rabbis, one of your teachers, one of your leaders, and one of your friends for these 3 wonderful years. Shabbat Shalom.
I didn't hire him. Really. I was on sabbatical when Rabbi Rotenberg was hired. And I had no idea what kind of rabbi was going to greet me when I came back. And I certainly didn't envision someone who was both so wise and so humble, since that is such a rare combination. And, by the way, if you don't know, whose wife, Rabbi Kayla, who is sitting in the back there with an infant, has made a similar impression on Ikar as Rabbi Rotenberg has here at Sinai. So it is a tremendous loss for our community and a tremendous boon to Chattanooga that they are leaving here to go there. And as you heard in that eloquent and stirring and beautiful farewell sermon, we have maybe taught Rabbi Rotenberg a lot, but not nearly as much as he has taught us. So I think maybe even though it is in some ways a sad occasion, because they are going to build a different kind of community, how about if we sing Shehechianu? I'm going to ask you to please rise, and we'll sing Shehechianu to the rabbis, their children, and their future.